Hi, guys. Aloha. Welcome to another live coaching with me. I hope everybody is doing well this week. I am curious to hear what the good word is. So, you guys are going to have to let me know. Uh, this is I do this almost weekly. Lately, it's been every other week just because of my schedule. But these are live coachings that I do to really respond to anybody's challenge. So please feel free to put in the chat box any challenge that you guys have, because that allows me to address it. I'm so glad you're here, Cynthia. Good to have you. Uh, my name is Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street Coach. Some people ask where that name came from. It came from a reporter that covered the free coaching I did down on Wall Street back in 2008. I did it for 1 year outside the stock exchange. And it was in the middle of, what was really a big crisis that had already kind of started, but it kind of escalated on October 7th. And that was the day I first went out there. I come out of finance. I worked in finance at the C suite level for about a decade, working at the end of my career, one of the largest hedge funds in the world. And I hired a coach, and it was transformational for me. And that is what began my journey to become a coach. So that's, 18 years ago or so. Um, and then my focus specifically for traders began, uh, you know, I got trading clients over those 18 years, but there were some that were retail day traders, but most of them were institutional traders. So, long story short, I started to really put the focus more on retail day traders when I got hired by the Steady Trade podcast. I was like, gosh, it's got to be 4 years ago now, maybe longer. I don't know. Right before the pandemic hit. And then I started my own podcast adjacent with that. I was with them for a couple of years, but, have been here ever since. And I really appreciate you guys, and I'm really inspired by you guys, because I do feel in a lot of ways you guys are like an entrepreneur. You work for yourself, you do everything yourself, and I'm an entrepreneur for 18 years. It's hard, it's scary, it asks everything of you. So I'm kind of like, okay, these are my people. So anyway, that's where I come from, and why I do what I do. Coaching was transformational for me. I am a person who has done a lot of work on myself. I had an unusual childhood, which I don't get into too much. I do tell you guys stories on occasion about what that childhood was like, only because I want to set a little bit of context for you guys to understand why I do this and what informs the techniques I use. At the end of the day, the techniques that you guys hear me advocate, the tools I share with you, are tools that changed my life. So this is not like in theory, this could work. No, no, no. These fucking work because I need really serious tools to help me heal, to help me recover from trauma, for me to navigate all of the stuff that I did not even know was kind of trapped inside of me and unconsciously driving me. And when I kind of woke up to this, uh, I think there was a part of me all my life as a little girl, like I asked for my first therapist at 10 years old. So there was a part of me that knew I need to get some tools, but the most powerful tools arrived roughly 20 years ago. And when those tools came into my hand, there was just no stopping me. I just went full throttle into this healing kind of journey. And it's made all the difference. And now it really is my life purpose, my vocation to share those tools with as many people as possible, because I can tell that when people get the tools, they have a whole different experience of life, of work, and certainly for the traders I've worked with, their trading. So I'm glad to share all that with you, just so you have a sense of where I'm coming from. Why should you listen to me at all, right? Why uh, consider me and anything I have to say? You know, it's simply because I have done the work on myself. I've seen these tools work. And at the end of the day, though, guys, you got to go with the person that you resonate with. If I'm not your cup of tea, no sweat. You just keep looking till you find your cup of tea. And that's all I can say about that. So, Technopark, I've not seen you here before. I don't think. I'm glad you're here. Tina, I'm glad you're here. Uh, so looks like we have a number of people in the room. For those who are new, again, this is how I can give you some coaching is you put, an abbreviated chat message. You don't have to get into all of the details. You want to also realize that those chat messages are live. People will see them, so use discretion if you need to. Oh, first time. Excellent. I'm so glad you're here then. Uh, yes. So, okay. So Cynthia is saying that she wants to talk about the same as she was always, which is self sabotage. So, Cynthia, tell me, since this is a topic we talked about before for you, would you be willing to tell me if indeed you've gotten into the heat of the Taming a Gremlin book, and if you've done Rick Carson's homework in those chapters at the end of uh, each one? All right. And Cynthia says, I've been turning a corner for the better, made one significant mistake, which I could have avoided, and have been sabotaging every single progress towards regaining those losses. Let me just understand that last part better, Cynthia, because that I'm not sure. It sounds like you turned a corner for the better and you made a significant mistake, but you've been sabotaging since that mistake the rest of the progress. I think that's what you're saying. So confirm that I'm reading that correctly. Cynthia, and let me know if you actually have done the Rick Carson homework in Taming a Gremlin. Here's the thing, guys. If you know you're self-sabotaging and you want to stop that because you see the specific patterns, at the end of the day, you are going to have to change certain reactions, right? And the only way those reactions or habits can change is if you start to become aware of them. Just noticing them is the first step. It's a critical step. You can't do anything else until you notice them. But you can't just stay in the step of noticing. Then you have to take the next step, which is uncomfortable, right? It's the step to, let's say, reading the Taming a Gremlin book. Uh, that's one step. And then what's the next step? Well, doing the homework at the end of those chapters, pausing to notice what are the inner saboteurs or inner gremlins that keep repeating themselves to you. You have to listen to them. Rick talks about identifying them. You have to do that work to be able to become even more aware, right? There's one level of awareness, but it's like a ladder. There's multiple steps to that awareness. And this, this is not enjoyable. This is going to be hard. This is going to ask you to zig when you want to zag. Prepare for that. Prepare for being somebody who heals as a person who's going to go through some discomfort, who's going to take themselves out of their normal routine. you have to kind of psychologically brace yourself for taking a hard look at these things and changing the habits. All right. So Cynthia says, yes, each trading day I've been making progress regarding my losses, but then overstaying my welcome until I create more losses. I've not done that work, but promise myself to begin as soon as possible. Good job, Cynthia. Cynthia, I am loving that you come to these every week. God bless you for always being here. You can always come, but come and take action afterwards. All of this is, just kind of like music, right? Not saying my voice is like music, probably it really isn't. But I want you to realize like you can listen to music, it's passive. But if you guys want change, if you want your trading account to change, you have to take action. You have to put in the guardrails to change. All right, Cynthia, I'm glad. Mhm. Do I have a creamy nose? Hopefully not. This is the heart of change, guys. And this is part of why most people don't change because they don't want to deal with the discomfort. I don't blame them. It's a bitch. Let's be honest. It's not fun. Nobody likes change. And also, what's that famous saying? The devil is better than devil you don't know. And trust me, when you are used to operating a certain way, once you start to deviate from that, you are going to have a lot of internal kind of like discomfort of, ooh, this might, cause X, Y, or Z to happen. Your inner saboteurs, inner gremlins are totally going to be triggered as soon as change is afoot. So, Technopark, yep, we talk about psychology, not trading strategies here. I'm a coach for traders, but my coaching is specific to emotional intelligence, and specific to FOMO, specific to not keeping your word to yourself as a trader. So if you thought it was about trading strategies, I'm sorry if that was something you misunderstood. But this is all about emotional intelligence and the psychology issues that face traders, really, and anybody who wants to come. But that's what this focus is. I am not a trader myself, Technopark. I am a coach to traders, and I'm always going to be addressing the places where traders are getting stuck, getting in their own way. Where they're, self-sabotaging, basically. That's the heart of what I do. So yeah, if that's, if you're looking for something different, then that you would need to find elsewhere because that's what my focus is. So yeah, I hope that's answers your question. But if you have any questions that have to do with, how you yourself might be self-sabotaging or, kind of stopping yourself, feel free to throw those in the chats. So, Cynthia, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I'm going to suggest that you come back to the next time, I host this. I agree, Technopark. I think they go hand in hand as well, but not every trader believes that. So for those traders, I'm always prepared that they're like, who cares about this stuff? I just want the strategy, the winning strategy, right? That's all the traders want is the winning strategy, as if they're bottled up on a shelf someplace. So good. I'm glad Technopark you see that they go in hand. That's a good sign for your trading. I'm happy to hear that you think that way. So Cynthia, your homework assignment is to come back because if I don't come next week, that means you'll potentially have 2 weeks, but maybe it's just a week. I want you to come back and have accomplished 3 chapters of Taming Your Gremlin and having done the homework at the end of each chapter. You can do one of 3 things, Cynthia. You can agree, you can disagree, or you can counter offer. So let me know what you're going to do. Are you going to take that homework on, or are you going to disagree and say nope? Or are you going to counter offer? All right, let's see what Cynthia says. What do you guys think she'll do? I don't know. Mhm. I'm getting a little caffeine in me because it's been a long day. All right. So I don't see any questions. Tina, let me know how you're doing. Um, and Techno Park, is there any topic you want? Oh, challenge accepted. Good job, Cynthia. I'm proud of you. Excellent. I can't wait to hear. Now, remember, Cynthia, I'm going to grab the book off my shelf. Remember that there's a couple of versions of the book. I would recommend you don't get the Kindle. I prefer books, but I have a Kindle and I get the Kindle for the big books. But I want you to get this in paperback if possible. Okay. Why? Because the illustrations help the book go down. It's like the sugar, it's like the sugar that helps the medicine go down. These pictures just help us not take it too seriously. It's a small book, but it's a dense book. You're not going to plow through this, Cynthia, or anybody. You guys got to take this book slow. It also comes in audio. I have listened to the audio and read this because it's a lot to wrap your head around. So don't get the Kindle. If you can, Cynthia, get the paperback. It's much better. Good. I'm glad. And you can write in the book the homework assignment. Technic Park says, I attended the spaces you did with Anthony and Pax Trader. That was great. I'm so glad you were there. That's excellent. I had so much fun that day with Matt and Anthony. They were fantastic. And I'm so hoping they'll do it again. And how of course, Pax is recovering from what happened to him. And thank God he's okay. But he was just talking even yesterday on X. I don't know if you saw this Techno Park, but he was talking about, the floor and how the guys that were really tall would have better chance of communicating across each other. And that was one of the suggestions. One of the participants in the room, it could have been you, Techno Park, who said, hey, we should have an X space with all the floor, the Chicago, trading floor guys come to an X space. And I, immediately asked Pax that and Anthony, and they both said, yeah, let's do it. So, I'm giving Matt a little time to recover from his health scare. But as soon as I feel like he's, I'll check in with him in a couple of weeks, see if he wants to do that. But wouldn't that be great, Techno Park, to just get a bunch of the Chicago floor guys into an X-rays and just tell those stories? I mean, I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to this, but it was an X space with Anthony Crudelli. It was actually an X space with Matt, with Pax, and then I did a video interview of Pax, which is in my podcast, Techno Park. If you didn't see it, it's full 45 minutes, very deep conversation. It was a very emotional conversation with Pax. This was not even a month or two ago, but then we went over to X Space. Anthony Crudelli saw that we were having X Space. He joined the conversation. Guys, that conversation is the longest space I have done. It I think it was over 2 hours, that X Space, and if you guys haven't listened to it, it's still up there. Go to my handle on, X, which guys, thank you. Mohammed, thank you so much. I accidentally hit the mute on the microphone, and Mohammed, you saved the day. Damn, thank you, man. Holy mackerel. I don't know what happened, guys. Thank you. And then now everybody's saying, oh my God, the sound's gone. All right. So hopefully it's fixed. I don't know how I did that. Really, it's just a button, but somehow I clicked it. Maybe going into the chat messages. I don't know. All right. So I don't know where I left off, guys. Does anybody know when I stopped being heard? Anyway, I'm so grateful to you, Mohammed, for saying it right out of the gate. Good job, you man. That rocks. That rocks. All right. So, what was I saying? I was trying to say and encourage you guys, if you haven't listened to the space that I did with PAX, which Anthony Cordelli joined, you guys got to listen to it because it's freaking hilarious. And it is long. I think it's over 2 hours because what happened is PAX talking about the Chicago, trading floor, and good job, Cynthia, good job. And then Anthony came on, and then they, both were there about the same time, for at least for a period of time, at the same exact time. And there were just story after stories they were sharing with each other, but they were cracking up. They were laughing so hard that the whole audience was laughing with her. I was laughing. It was so funny. So anyway, my hope, once Matt, packs it a little bit further into his recovery, I am going to see if, I had asked him that night because everybody was like, we got to do an episode just on the traders from the Chicago floor. And I was like, that's a great idea. Anthony, you game? Matt, are you game? They said yes, but I have to circle back to both of them. But I want Matt to have a little bit of time to recover. So yeah, it was the best, wasn't it? I'm so glad you got to hear that because it was so much fun. And Technopark, did you watch part one of my conversation with Matt? Because he and I did an interview before we came to X. That's just so good. He's very vulnerable in that conversation. It was really quite inspiring, very moving. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Thank you, Tina. Yes, I'm back. I'm glad you guys can hear me. All right. So let's take on Technopark's inquiry. So Technopark said, that he struggles with FOMO, and that, and then he's trading all the time, right? If I'm missing anything, Technopark, just throw it back in the chats. But I think I got the heart of what you were trying to say. So I got some questions for you, Technopark. Okay. So if you can just be a little interactive with me right now, just so I can be sure I've got my, hands wrapped around exactly what you're struggling with. What it sounds to me, can I ask you how long you've been trading for? I'm going to presume more than a minute, but that's what I want to know. We'll go through. I'm not sure I got that, Technopark, but go ahead. See if you can answer my question. How long have you been trading for? Do you trade full time? And are you a parent or responsible for like elder parents? Like just give me a sense. Like I trade part-time, Kim, these days, or I full-time trade for this long, and I am responsible only for myself. Any kind of texture like that will help me. All right. While we wait for that. Okay, 10 years. You're trading full time. I take it, Technopark. And just confirm that. I'm sure you are, but I just want to make sure. So I'm just kind of curious if you also have struggled with FOMO all 10 years, or is that something that has recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the past year or two. You're okay. Good. Thank you for telling me. So here's the thing, Technopark, right out of the gate is that are you about the PDT rule, Technopark? Just so I have again a little clarity. Part-time traders in general, I see suffer a lot from FOMO. Why? Because they're part-time. Because often a part-time trader is holding themselves, comparing themselves up to traders that are trading full time. Okay, Mohammed, I'll take you on next. I'm glad you spoke and I hear you. I'll finish up here with Technopark. So, is it possible, Technopark, that, okay, good. Is it possible that in this past year, since it's recent, um, I want to know if this, is happening because you're paying more attention, or you can't help but see those on X, maybe in a Discord room you belong to, talking about their success, right? We want to realize that FOMO occurs, period, when we are caught usually in the throes of comparing ourselves. It's very hard to compare. It's very hard to not compare ourselves in this world of social media because we're going to be consistently reminded about other people success, other people's potential successes, and other people's kind of lifestyle or experience. So the question for you, Technopark, is, have you in this past year had a couple of things change? One of them, found yourself comparing yourself more often, or found yourself suddenly having some kind of external financial pressure that requires you, or is sort of quietly or not quietly demanding more financial ability to underwrite somebody you care about, or get something you desire, or make up for a loss that has occurred in this past year that you weren't even conscious of possibly coming into when you sit down to trade, right? The only time FOMO is usually hijacking us is because we have gotten ourselves super attached to an outcome. And what causes that super attachment? A lot of things. Some people say it's greed. I always say, no, greed is a superficial name for a need underneath. So that is what I'm going to ask of you to think about, Technopark. And that I'm looking now, I want to put this link to this needs list. And if everybody, first of all, you, Technopark, I want you to get this needs list. Let me just see here. I have, this is the link. Okay, I'm just getting it out of my document here. Yeah, no peer pressure, but have high goals, just tracking the bull market. So that is the peer pressure, Technopark. It the peer pressure doesn't have to be like your buddy. It is you looking and tracking that bull market, and likely a inner saboteur, inner gremlin, which is this book that I was talking to Cynthia about, right? Likely there's an inner saboteur, inner gremlin inside of you that is seeing that bull market, right? And then it's saying to you, what's wrong with you? You should be on this. What are you doing wrong? You're screwing up. You should be making more money. Now, I am not saying that there isn't an appropriate observation at times that can reflect back to us a truth, right? You possibly could be operating differently. You possibly do need to change your strategy, right? I have no variables right now. However, even if that's true, right? Even if that's true, you being able to shift into seriously looking at that, seriously considering it, is not going to happen if this internal voice, this likely gremlin, is judging you and shaming you for not making bank under this particular scenario. Why? Right? Why? Because when we have an inner saboteur or an inner critic, making us feel like garbage, we go into a contraction, right? Every part of us, including our cognitive ability, starts to shut down, starts to shrink. If you guys can ever remember getting in trouble as a kid, what would we do? We would close our eyes, right? We would close our eyes like because we felt embarrassed, we felt ashamed. That thing that kids intuitively do about closing their eyes when they get yelled at, it's because they're trying to protect themselves from feeling like garbage, And all I want you to know, Technopark, is that first of all, because you're a part-time trader, I want, if you can, I don't know if you have a community, but I would talk to somebody who is trusted, who's knowledgeable, to see if the expectations that you currently aren't meeting are appropriate for yourself, right? So I use this often, this ruler that I have. What I see a lot of this is a 12-inch ruler, guys, right? That's 12 inches. If I pick this ruler up in Japan, if I pick this ruler up in Africa, 12 inches is going to still be 12 inches. But this is what happens. A lot of traders are not using a standard issue ruler. They're using their own version of a ruler, and that ruler is not a standard issue. So that can often happen where you are a part-time trader and you start to expect yourself to be operating at the level a full-time trader is. That is not a fair comparison. So that's the question for you, Technopark. You want to identify, okay, I have high goals, but are these goals appropriate? You can have even bodacious goals. I've got nothing against a person having big, bold goals. But here's the thing. If your goals are completely impractical, completely built upon you work operating as a full-time trader when you're really only a part-time trader, you set yourself up for disappointment, for failure, for not getting what you want for yourself. That does you a huge disservice. So this is not about being a wimp. I'm just asking you, are these goals over just this past year? And because you've been at it 10 years, you can look back. Well, if I didn't struggle with FOMO the year before, what was that? Maybe it was just because now, okay, you just experienced a bit of a bull market, but over 10 years, you have experienced bull markets. So what is different now? That's what you want to do. And here are the two qualities that I suggest for everybody whenever they come into coaching. You want to bring two qualities. You want to bring curiosity, and you want to be willing to bring neutrality. Why? Because as you begin to self-reflect, you don't want to slip into judgment. And that's part of what's happening here, right? The concept of FOMO is ultimately a judgment, right? When somebody has a fear of missing out, they are already caught in the throes of a judgment about themselves. And here's the other thing. And this is part of why I'm such a fan of the assessment that I'm always telling you guys about, which I'll put that in here too. And the one thing I forgot to say, which I have to say, not have to say, but want to say, is thank you to my sponsor, Centerpoint, for sponsoring this live. I completely forgot to say that today. Anyway, because I probably just had a crazy day. So if you guys want to check out the Centerpoint, let me just put their special link here in the chat box. This is a link that they gave to me to share with you guys, which is inclusive of 60 days of no fees. I just had Matt Marino, Centerpoint's Matt Marino on the podcast, and that is an excellent conversation. I think it just dropped yesterday or the day before. So watch that if you want to understand more about Centerpoint. And, they're really for active traders, but their customer service is unlike anybody. I can't even tell you. Like, they're passionate. I met their whole team, because they're a sponsor. I really wanted to get to know them. They're incredible. So, anyway, what was I going to do? I was going to share you guys this link for the Trader Positioning Index. And that is what I'm referencing it. Look, I'd love for you, Technopark, for you to do it because I think you would get so much out of it. But at the end of the day, there is a measuring graph in there that allows us to see a person's motivation, allows us to see for ourselves what kind of goals we set for ourselves. There are some people that set unusually unrealistic goals for themselves. And here's why that can be problematic. Today's Thursday, Technopark. Can you imagine if I said to you or to everybody here, there's an Ironman on the Saturday, and I'm gonna go sign up for it. Anybody who's done a marathon or an Ironman or knows anything about sports or athletics would say, Kim, have you been training for an Ironman that's going to happen in 2 days? Nah, but I'm going to do it because I like to push myself. I like to grind it out. I like to follow all these guys out there who are advocating that you just be disciplined and everything. Think about what's going to happen, right? Think about what happens to a person's body who hasn't trained for an Ironman, right? That is an unreasonably high goal to set for somebody, right? And then let's say I do it and somehow miraculously I live to tell, but I don't come in first. And then what happens? Well, then I beat myself up. Can you see how incongruent that would be? It's like having a really unrealistic goal, and then you even come in less than perfect to it, and you judge yourself. I call that a negative perfectionist. And there's two graphs that I get to look at. They're like dials that often show up in traders. Big surprise. You guys have a tendency to have really big goals, and that's okay. But at least realize that maybe those goals are possibly stopping you from even enjoying or being proud of the things you have already accomplished. So I hope that helps, Technopark. Please let me know. And I put the links in there if you want to ever consider that assessment. That's a Trader Positioning Index. You see that there. But I would also get that needs list. Because that needs list, as I was saying before, I get to take that. You just have to sign up for the needs list. That there's no charge for that. But that needs list, I would look at that Technopark for what the FOMO is. I can promise you, the fear of missing out always has something underneath it. Look at the needs. Let's see if you can find what it is. Here's something I'm going to suspect or guess that it could be. Is security, right? If there's this sense of like wanting to make more, there could be that you have a need currently to have more security. It's a human need. We all have that need. There are times in our life where these needs, when you get the list, you'll see when these needs have a tendency to become more important than other needs, right? For example, I have a need for security, but you know what need I have much, much stronger is freedom. No big surprise. I'm an entrepreneur, right? Now, I can tell you as an entrepreneur, I get my need for freedom met all the time, most of the time. What need don't I get met? Can you take a guess, Dr. Park? Security. As an entrepreneur, as a danger, very little security because I'm an entrepreneur, right? Business comes in, business goes out, things come up. It's always fluctuating, right? So getting a paycheck when I worked in the corporate world every 2 weeks, that was a very nice security. But I did get my need for freedom. And look, I have both of these needs, but there's always, for all of us, there's always going to be a handful of needs that are non-negotiable. Freedom for me is a non-negotiable. I love security. I really would like to have it, but if I don't get freedom, it's not going to be pretty. But I know this about myself now. So my choices and decisions are informed by it. Hopefully, that needs list will help you identify what's underneath the FOMO, what you might be actually needing, and hopefully that is something that you can reflect upon because there's different points in our life. I probably need more security now than I did 18 years ago, right? It wasn't as important to me 18 years ago as it is now. As I get older, we all have a tendency sometimes to want different needs, right? I have some friends who haven't had freedom for the past 18 years, those who stayed in the corporate world. And guess what they want now? They don't want security, they want freedom, right? So we're always going to be changing, but having a sense of ourselves, what the needs are that are driving us, and especially in trading, if there's behaviors or ways you're showing up, all of you, that are compromising your trading. I don't want you to judge yourself. I want you to get curious. I want you to look at that needs list, start to identify what need are you trying to get met in a costly way, right? At the end of the day, these are needs we all have, but the costs don't have to be through the roof. The key is how do you get your needs met, keeping the costs low, right? There's always a cost to getting a need met, and costs, I don't mean monetary, although it could be. I just mean emotionally, relationally, sometimes monetarily, but ultimately get your needs met in the least costly way. That's what I'm an advocate of. The only way you can do that is, first of all, identifying what your needs are in the first place. All right. Hopefully that helps. All right. Let's go back to my new friend who saved me from silence, Muhammad. All right. Muhammad, you're still here, hopefully, because if I get going down that pike, I don't want to do it with you if you're not here. Muhammad said he was a full-time trader and responsible for his family. And I'm still struggling with FOMO sometimes. Of course, you are, Muhammad. I don't know anybody who doesn't. And here's what I want to ask you: is the FOMO showing up in certain give me an example. Okay, Technopark, good. Let me know how it goes. And if you have questions about that needs list, let me know. But that needs list is a powerful thing. Print it up and keep it on you or keep it near your trading desk. And before you start to trade, ask yourself, what do I need right now? And Muhammad, this is important for you too. So one of the traders, I've told this story here before, but I think both of you guys are new. One of the traders that came to me, this was just such a dramatic example. This is why I reference the story. If you guys have heard me talk about it before, it's just the most blatantly obvious case. In the middle of pandemic, 10-year trader. She was very obviously experienced. She came to the coaching because she was taking unusual risk in her trading account. She's like, I don't know what's going on. I've never taken this much risk. This is not like me. What the hell? Well, we started to kind of, dig into it. And what I discovered by asking her these questions was one of her favorite things to do in her downtime, her weekends, was adventures. She did those crazy adventures on the weekend, jumped out of planes, climbed, crazy cliffs. Like she did all of that crazy adventure kind of athlete stuff. Guess what? She hadn't done any of it for months because of the pandemic. Everything was shut down. So as soon as we got that clarity, I was able to say to her, is it possible you are now trying to get your need for adventure met in your trading? Because she wasn't getting it met on the weekend warrior stuff. And that's what it was. She was simply trying to get that need for adventure, for freedoms, for spontaneity met in her trading account. But obviously, it was costing her there. Didn't cost her on the weekends. Like I'm sure she paid for a membership or for her equipment, but those are costs she was happy to pay, right? But her trading account, no, that's not where she wants to pay it, nor would any of us want to. But that's what can happen if we have needs that aren't getting met. So, Mohammed, this is what I would suggest to you as well. Get that needs list and see. And this is my question to you, Mohammed: is the FOMO, uh, you know, intermittent, or is it always in the background? You've been at this for a while. You're full time. So, is it being potentially, you know, caused by the comparing equal, I say compare equals to spare, right? It's a catchphrase to just remind myself, oh, right, every time I'm tempted to compare, I'm going to slip into despair. We can't but help go there, because when we compare, guys, too, we're never actually truly comparing ourselves. Like, oh, that person on Instagram, oh, it looks so perfect. Look like, oh, they did this, or the guy on X. Oh, even if he's got a legitimacy over his trading, even if he's got, what is it, Kinfo, whatever, where it stamps that it's real. Even those people, like, you have no idea what's going on in the background. You have no idea what their life looks like. You have no idea what their health looks like. You have no idea. So when you compare yourselves, guys, you got to remember you're selectively comparing. All right, so that makes sense, Mohammed, that it happens after a big loss. So let me ask you this, Mohammed: the big loss, like, I'm gonna give you a really great quote that Peter Brandt has. I read it in Jack Schwager's book, Unknown Market Wizards. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, it's a continuation of Jack Schwager's great trader interview series books. That one is well, it may not be his most recent book, but it came out just a couple years ago. And Jack actually was on my podcast talking about that book again. I think it's like a year or two ago that it came out. But anyway, Pete Brandt has this great quote, and this is what I want to ask you, Mohammed. He says there's a difference between bad trades and losing trades. So that's my first question to you, Mohammed. After a big loss, was the big loss that you had, like, or have, is that because that loss is just a big loss, a big losing trade, or was it a big uh did you take a bad trade? That's what I want to know. Like, there's loss happens all the time in trading, right? But you want to have there's a difference between a bad trade and a losing trade. And if you aren't sticking to your own rules, if you aren't following your own stop loss, like if you are overriding it or something like that I want to know, what is this big loss, right? When you have big losses, is that because they just were a losing trade, or because they were you not listening to your strategy? Let's start there before we go over to the FOMO side. So if you can answer that, that would be great. Part of why I love that quote from Brandt is because there are traders who somehow presume that all loss is bad. Artem, great advice. In other words, FOMO is avoided by fully systematic approach. That is definitely true, Artem. I'm glad you're here. I think that's your first time too. FOMO is definitely avoided by a fully systematic approach. And I'll say this, it's also avoided when you begin to practice the discipline. Okay. Okay. So it's a bad trade. And I didn't put in a stop loss. Muhammad, because I'm waiting for the break even. No, Muhammad, no. No, you don't wait for a break even. That is not trading. That is gambling. You are a full-time trader for 10 years. Dude, come on. You cannot rationalize like that. Not good. Not good. This is the most important piece I'm going to say to everybody here. You have to be a man or woman of your word. If you aren't, you are consistently degrading the relationship with yourself. If you are going to be a trader, never mind a successful trader, you have to have the trust of the most important person in the world, and that is you, Muhammad. That means you can't trust you, right? If you don't put in a stop loss because you just want what you want, that's like, a 5-year-old who wants their candy. That's a temper tantrum. That's not a trader who's treating this like a business. Like, we all want what we want. But that tells me if it was you, you wanted to get to break even. I'm going to presume because you didn't like the experience or the feelings that you have when you have consequences of a loss, right? Of a bad trade. But the avoidance of that discomfort is why it will keep repeating itself. So the key here is, guys, whatever it is, here's the quote. This is a hard to hear quote, but it's so powerful. We seek the teeth that match our wound, right? What does that mean? It means that inside of ourselves, we know the truth. We get that we are operating from this place or that place, and we are unconsciously going to draw into ourselves the very things that we're like so used to. So, this is so important, Muhammad. Right now, that pain and discomfort that's coming up for you when a loss happens, you don't want to run from it. You're going to have to learn how to be with it. And being with it is going to be uncomfortable. But that pain and discomfort, feeling it all the way through, is what's going to give you the gravitas and the anchor the next time to not be tempted. And this happens, Muhammad, you sure as heck ain't the only one that this has happened to, but you want to ultimately reestablish the trust in yourself. And that means you will be a willing participant in the discomfort you potentially create for yourself. Don't turn away from it. Don't try to soften the blow by getting to break even, because what is that? That's just wishing and hoping, right? That is going to always make it potentially worse. And if it doesn't, then you just got lucky. And that luckiness is ultimately going to have a big price upon it, because one day you're not going to be lucky. And then you're going to pay the interest on the first time when you got away with murder. And I don't want to see that happen to you. So I would say, Muhammad, consider what is this internal dialogue for you that has you even taking a bad trade in the first place? And then, second place, What is stopping you from really having a trust with yourself, being a man of your word? That is a non negotiable. When you become somebody who has a trust in themselves, we are the only person who's here when we're born. All the way to our death, right? No matter how many people may love us or our partners or significant others, nobody's here at the beginning and at the end except for really ourselves. That is the most important relationship we have with somebody. So you want to, one of the things I like to say, I'm going to make a presumption, Muhammad, but let's just say, here's a question, like, Muhammad, is there like play along with me, okay? Is there like, a movie star or a singer, that you find very attractive? Like, oh, like, that's the one, for me, it's like Christian Bale, right? Like if Christian Bale, like comes along, I'm going to be like, okay, I want to talk to that man. So that's what I want, Muhammad. I want you just to tell me, like, is there whoever that is for you? Like, maybe it's this person, that person. Imagine who it is. Now, here's the second part of that, right? I'm making a presumption, but let's say it's Giselle, right? Or, Beyonce or, whomever it is for you, Muhammad. Let me ask you this, because it's that person, that woman, right? That movie star, does your partner, does your wife potentially, okay, Rick, it's good to have you here. Rick says Sophia. And then I don't know who that is. I'll have to look her up. But here's the thing, Mohammed. Would your wife, would your partner, if you have one, give you a hall pass for whoever your famous, gal is? Like, would she say, oh, it's okay. You could sleep with her because it's so and so? Probably not, right? Probably not. But you could be like, well, like, make an exception. It's this famous movie star. She would be like, no, there's no exceptions, right? Most likely, I don't know. You could have an open relationship, which is fine, but for the most part, I hope you get the gist, right? There, there are commitments that we make in our life where there are no exceptions, right? Where we don't get to say, well, it's a commitment and I made a commitment to her, but if it's, so and so, I get to break that commitment, right? You likely wouldn't do that with somebody that you're committed to. And yet you are doing it with yourself, right? You're saying, well, I'll make this exception to, let's call it what it is, lied to myself, that maybe I'll be able to make up this loss because I'll just get to break even and I won't be that uncomfortable, right? That lying to yourself, everybody does it. Not saying you're unique, but there are those who don't do it because they make a choice they won't do it. And that's what I want you to think about stepping into. What changes for you if you create the what the commitment is, Muhammad, is up to you. It's not for me to decide. It's not for anybody in this room to decide. It's your decision. What do you want to commit to? What are the parameters that you want to stay true to as a trader, as a full time trader, as a veteran trader? What are the rules? What are the commitments that you likely know by now are a non negotiable for the success, I presume, you seek for you and your account? Whatever those commitments are, I want you to reestablish, like, kind of like what they do in marriages. What do they have? They have like what is it called, guys? It's like a commitment ceremony, a recommitment ceremony where they reaffirm their vows, right? Muhammad, that's what you need to do with yourself. You need to have a recommitment ceremony with your trading. What do you think about that? So, Muhammad, as I told Cynthia before, you can agree, disagree, or counter offer in tradings. trading, in coaching. You can agree, disagree, or counter offer whenever I coach clients. That's what I say to them. So you tell me, Mohammed. I gave you some hard truths today. Mohammed's like, "The hell with this chick. I'm not coming back here. She's a pain in my ass." So tell me, Mohammed, no more exceptions. All right. I like it. I'm going to give you a high five. Well done. No more exceptions. So truly, Mohammed, that's your homework. I want you to write a list of vows to you, right? What are the vows you are going to make to yourself? What are the vows and the commitments you are going to stay true to? Be conscious of what these are that you write for yourself, Mohammed. I want you to dig deep. You likely know what they really need to be. And I want you, like, here in front of all these people, right? You are now committing with that. I'm totally agreeing. Look at that great emoticon. I can feel your energy coming off that chat message, right? The the wealth that comes, right? Wealth, right? That doesn't mean money, guys. Wealth that comes when you know you are a man of your word is no money on all the money on earth cannot feel better than that feeling when you are a man of your word, because it's an internal sense of anchoredness. It's an internal sense of, like, you might not be able to trust anybody, but you can trust yourself. At the end of the day, that is the only person you need to trust, because everybody else is fallible. So are you, and so am I. All humans are, but when you make a commitment to yourself, doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake, and it doesn't mean you're not going to fuck up, and it doesn't mean you're not going to break your vow on occasion. But you at least begin to have a criteria for yourself where you know that's the choice that you want to live your life from and operate your trading account from. So really proud of you, Mohammed. You could easily have just, given me the middle finger and pressed disconnect, but you didn't. And that takes guts. And I'm very proud of you. And I'm very excited to see what you're going to create for yourself. And I would love for whoever's here that feels so inclined to just tell Mohammed how inspiring he is, because you are. It takes a lot of guts to come to this conversation. Never mind participate. Never mind, get some hard truths laid across the internet from a gal you don't even know. So well done, you, brother. Well done, you. Ah, all right. So I think I am a little over time. I want to just quickly say hi to you, Eric. I saw you come in before. Luck leads to bad habits. It does. Look, no doubt luck serves all of us. God bless it. I want as much luck, and I am a lucky girl. But I still stay true to the commitments I make to myself, because I know that, luck is fickle. Good. I'm glad, Mohammed. I'm glad it was helpful, and I'm very excited to see what you create with it, because there's just going to be no stopping you, man. Going to be no stopping you. Check out that needs list. Be sure to sign up for it. And good, Cynthia. I'm glad you found it inspiring. I found it inspiring too. I'm inspired by you, Mohammed. I'm supposed to actually be up with the trainer tomorrow, Mohammed. This is a trainer I hired a long time ago, and I'm going to be working with him again to, stay true to some of my commitments to myself. And I knew I needed an accountability partner, so I'm feeling all inspired for my meeting with him tomorrow, which I'm a little afraid of because he's hard ass too. He's a trainer that just, like, he has my number, so he just knows where to poke. So I'm a little nervous to go. So now, Mohammed, you put a little wind in my sails to get my ass there tomorrow at dark o'clock. So thank you. All right. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna bring it to a close. Uh, Thank you. We had a really big turnout today. For those of you who are here for the first time, thank you for coming. Hope you found this valuable. Please be sure to sign up. I also, what you heard me talk about tonight was my five practices. Ultimately, don't stop me now. Queen song resonated just then. Don't stop me now. That's right. I love that song by Queen. So if you guys first time you're here, please sign up. This is a short excerpt from my book called the Five Practices. Part of what I spoke to today, and in general, it is always going to be probably revolving around my five practices. In fact, we're putting a PowerPoint together for each of those five for the next collection of lives that I do so that you guys can sign up for each practice as I walk through it. Today there was a little couple of practices I spoke to. One of them is emotional non-resistance, right? Was telling Muhammad to be with that hard to be feeling of that mistake that he made, as opposed to trying to not be with the mistake by mitigating the mistake so he wouldn't have to feel as much discomfort, right? And then with regards to who was I talking to earlier? I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I forgot your name. Technopark. Technopark, you and I were talking about, with the FOMO, right? And we talked about needs, and that is what I call practice two, self and other empathy, which is informed by the needs list. That if you guys see that in the chat box, yourselves get that needs list. That needs list facilitates you giving yourself empathy, allowing you to understand what lies underneath one of your wants, right? So wants are different than needs, and that's what that universal needs list will help you identify. Marshall Rosenberg is a creator of that language, and I've been a student of his work for more than 25 years. Before I even became a coach, I was introduced to that language. It is a foundational piece of being able to create the life you want, guys. Understanding what your needs are, because it will change how you listen to yourself. It will change how you succeed at getting your needs met. And it will also change the relationship you have with the world and people around you. Because what happens if you become really fluent in that language, which, I'm pretty fluent in it because I've been studying it for a long time. But trust me, I can get as triggered as anybody under the right circumstances. I now am able to quickly shift into the concept of whatever that person may have done to me, right? I will have my response, obviously, internally at a minimum. But because of Marshall Rosenberg's work, and that is this practice too, I now can give myself empathy for that experience quickly because my need wasn't met by that person. Let's say if somebody, is rude to me on the road or something like that, like I can quickly shift from that, insult and give myself empathy because my need, let's say, for respect wasn't met. And then only because I can extend that empathy to myself first can I then potentially afford to have empathy for that person's potential needs that they have just gotten by being, with a costly way, cutting me off or something like that. Probably sounds too complicated, but that's the gist of it. But it's a game changer, and I can't speak enough about how it will help you as traders, how it will help you as brothers, fathers, friends, sisters. Any relationship will be empowered, but the biggest one that will be empowered, guys, is the one that you have with yourself, and that is a relationship you must give attention to because it's all you got, right? Everybody else is gravy. Get the one with yourself down. Commit to that relationship with yourself. Commit to you. be it these vows I'm suggesting Muhammad do for himself and his trading account, be it self care, be it your commitment to nutrition, exercise. Understand that for you to go the distance and create what you want, you're going to have to treat yourself really well, right? There's probably somebody in your life you treat really well. And if you don't treat yourself as well as you treat them, you want to take a hard look at that. All right, I'm going to end it there. Thank you for all your interaction, everybody that did. You guys rock. Rick, it's been a while. I'm glad you're here again. I haven't seen you in a while. And for all the new faces, thanks for coming. This will play on YouTube. The recording goes out there. And what else did I want to say? I am not sure I can come next Thursday. I try to do this Thursdays around 8 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Eastern. If I can come next week, I will. And if not, it'll be the week after. Please sign up for those 5 practices. Centerpoint, check them out because they are my sponsor of this and all my podcasts and my newsletter. Also, if you sign up for the 5 practices, we'll put you on the newsletter. The newsletter comes out almost every Friday, and it's called The Curtain Call, which is a play on my last name because my last name is Curtin. So Curtin, though, is spelled Curtin because I'm Irish and that's how we spell it. So it's a little play on The Curtain Call, and hopefully it'll be surfing. It's, I write it really for traders, investors, entrepreneurs, individuals to be encouraged for tools that I've learned. And hopefully they help you too. Rick, I'm glad. Good to hear from you too. Glad you were here. Cynthia, you have your homework. I'm looking forward to giving you an A+ on your homework. And Muhammad, you have your homework. And Technopark, you have yours too. You're going to go through the needs list. I think that's everybody. And Tina, I'm glad you were here today too. All right. So aloha for now. And as we say here, a hui ho, which means until we meet.